Hi, everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of Purposely. Today, I'm super excited to introduce Molly Clarke, who has her own business. She's just 21 years of age. Her business is called Molly's Creations. Welcome, Molly.
Thank you. Hello.
Now, Molly is all the way down in Tassie. She's in Launceston, and so we're going to be hearing her story today. So, Molly, if you're at a barbecue or if you're meeting new people and they say, "Oh, g'day, Molly, what do you do?" How do you explain what you do?
Interesting question. I'll say, I have a various full-time job as well, and I've always been committed elsewhere. But then I'll say, and I do woodwork as well. I have my own small business, and then normally question leads to another. And I will say, what do you make? So therefore, I create timber cheese boards, chopping boards, serving platters. Often, actually, conversation starts with that at a party where I've taken a cheese platter. Oh, cool board. Wonder what MC stands for, being my brand, and that's a pathway into that. So, yeah, timber cheese boards, chopping boards, serving platters, all from Tasmanian timbers. And that's often then the beginning of a flow of conversation about, what else is possible or other Tasmanian timber products that's around and so on.
Amazing. So I found you on a Instagram page that I follow, which is by Tasmanian, and they did a beautiful write-up about you and your products and your story. So are you a qualified tradesperson? How did you get into woodwork? Because it's not typically something that many females do, I would imagine. I liked woodwork at school. I remember making this really ugly dolphin. I was pretty bad at it, but I was really proud that I made this weird kind of looking dolphin in woodwork. But not many of the girls were really into it. So how long have you been doing it? And tell us the whole story. Go back right to the start.
Right to the start. Woodwork at school was where it all began. I went to a school in Riverside, Launceston Christian School, and always did woodwork. Certainly, I've got no qualifications now. Dad's a builder, so I was always brought up around some kind of interaction or hands-on handiwork kind of thing. And woodwork was a passion. Many of my fellow friends were off sewing and cooking, and I was alongside a lot of the guys in woodwork, but it didn't bother me and it didn't bother anyone else either. And then a business studies project came up where you had to do a little enterprise. So now I was 16, and they said, all right, let's do a month project, start a name. You got to do a little brand for yourself, a bit of a marketing campaign, make a brochure or a business card. And a lot of people, I don't know, sold bags of lollies and cans of Coke because it wasn't what they were passionate about. So it wasn't a negative or positive. And I thought, I might make a chopping board because it was something that I was doing in class. And so I made a chopping board and thought, that's kind of cool. Went home, showed mum, and I think mum put a photo on Facebook and someone says, I'll grab one of those. Yeah, sure. $50. That was quite easy. Let's do that again. So then this project in class came around and I thought that was an ideal way. And what have I got to lose? And thinking it would go for, I don't know, a month or 2 months or however long this project went for. Within that time, my name's Molly Clarke, and often my signature had a little C around it. And I thought, let's use that as my brand, Molly Clarke, Molly's Creations. That goes hand in hand. So did that and made a few more boards at school. And then we got around and I was like, how can I source larger slabs to be able to make some different shapes and sizes? And that was that. Then soon realised that it was more of a school project and that things were selling with more photos, thanks to my mother on Facebook, quite rapidly. And Dad, being Dad, started yakking about what I was doing and word got around. Therefore, I was then able to go buy various slabs from different, say, older guys down at the northwest coast of Tasmania. And that's where I now, still to this day, source all my timber. So I guess in that little pathway of 3 months, it went from little project to, this is fun, this is a hobby, let's sell them. That took me down to December. And by December, I was at the Tasmanian Craft Fair. So this started off in March, April, just before my 17th birthday. And then by December I was at the Tasmanian craft fair. I'd done the local Launceston niche market, and I guess developed the name and branding Molly's Creations. And I think down to the craft fair I took 300 chopping boards, a couple of little tables and coat racks with old offcuts of timber. And that was that. One thing led to another, and thought, cool, that'll last, and it will kind of just drift away, and things will start to wrap up. But it continued on. 2017 came around, and obviously still at school, so by now I was in year 12. So it kind of started year 10, year 11, year 12, did the little niche market again. I had various sporting commitments, a weekend job in hospitality. So it was kind of all on the go at once, but I'd just knock off after school and tinker in my workshop at home. And it was all out of school by now. So school, and I thought, oh, no, better part ways with school and do it from home. And that continued on. I'd had a couple of galleries that I started to stock down at Swansea and Bicheno. One in Hobart had approached me, and nothing was on a commission base. It was all, say, purchased outright and then on-sold. So that was a nice pathway into branching out around the state, I guess is the way to say. In April 2017, the local Launceston niche market, there's many fellow awesome artists there doing jewellery, metalwork, glass features, clothing, all of the above. And that was a nice little local aspect of, I just going to share it being a place like that. April's kind of Easter time, so it was a nice event. Then continued to go, a couple of other, Capri Launceston stock a lot of my boards, and have always had a little display and range, so they ticked away. By now there was quite some large custom orders going on, tables, bar top that down the Exeter pub, I made their full bar top. That was a large piece, big microcarpet slab, so if you got a chance, go have a beer there. And various little high tops of bars tops there. And I think that took me to 2017 in December for the big Tasmanian craft fair. So again, how many exhibitors are there? Probably 700-800, which is a perfect way for all Tasmanian and a few domestic artists and craftsmen to come together. And that's huge. I pack mum and dad up for the weekend, and we go down to Deloraine and set up a stall in a space with, again, about 300 boards. But this year there was some larger tabletops on metal frames, some big pieces of timber, even just slabs there as well. And again, awesome, successful weekend. And from that was then shipping Australia-wide. When people come down, I can't actually fit this in my suitcase. So I'd send it off. And again, perfect aspect for coming into December, Christmas presents and that, alongside unbelievable, I guess, talent. I think glass blowing was next to me in various metalwork places, and this is cool. And 2018, I took off around the world. So I just turned 19 in April or May. And I went, and I thought, I wouldn't have travelled the world without this little business. Fully registered, all of the above. And I thought, if I go and it ticks away, I'd stocked up my workshop at home and had a bit of a studio and gallery space. Obviously, social media I kept ticking away with. Mum's display at Capri kept ticking away. And I was like, cool. Teed up mum and dad to say if I had people approach me about it, I was able to still distribute across the state and wide. Went around the world for 2 years, so that was cool. And I'd get some large orders still coming in, and I'd had to of course branch out and say, look, I'm not in the state, but I have stock at home, and I was able to get that, request fulfilled, which was awesome. I'd to still have photos backed up to be able to post on social media, and the option was still there. Due to COVID, 2020 now, came back home, and things were still ticking along, and I was so excited to get back into my workshop. It was one of the main things that I'd missed. I had a perfect space at home. With Dad and I had acquired quite the, workshop and space for timber for days. So it was exciting to come back home and get into it. And I thought, well, why not? Let's just keep pushing it. The word's still out there. And so I did. And that was April. And since then, things have nearly doubled, I guess. Sales have been great in terms of just local support, and one thing leads to another. And I've had a couple of other artists do like little swaps of business with, you take one of my products, I'll market it. I'll take one of your products, we'll market it. and just a really nice little vibe. A couple of large companies, deal and machinery have been a great one. Living here, real estate in Launceston have bought quite a stock of my boards, and they're now being distributed in all homes sold. And I've been able to engrave alongside Custom Cuts, who's a local business that help personalise the product as well. And I mean, the list goes on in terms of that. But yeah, now I guess since then, branching into some larger sales has been really sweet. In Stirling Galleries in Hobart, Deloraine, the cider house down there, have continuous supply of boards. And I guess that's just how the venture started and continued through.
Wow. So at the start of our conversation, did I hear you right? Do you also have I'm sorry, my voice just went all funny. Do you also have like a normal full-time job plus you do this, or is this your full-time job?
Oh, no, this isn't full-time. This is just after work and on weekends. My full-time job in metalwork design. So I work for a local gentleman in Longford. So that's for those that aren't from Tasmania, maybe half hour out of the city. And that's in all water jet cutting and all metalwork fabrication for a team of 5 or 6. And I guess now I'm in quite a management role there, full-time, and all custom designs of everything in that way too, which does come hand in hand with little tables and furniture as well. So this is I work at 5 o'clock, and I go into my workshop until Mum says it's past the curfew of noise in a neighbourhood, and then I wander on in.
Wow, that is so impressive, Molly. So this is your side hustle, and it sounds like you're only 21, but I tell you what, you sound like you've learned a lot in that time that you've had your own business. What would you say is your biggest learning from this venture?
Oh, that's hard. Learning's a hard one. I guess having no qualifications or background in it at the start, I don't know how it started, or it was probably just school, just picking up a few little things along the way. And I'm certainly a doer. Like if I can't figure it out, I just got to do it. I'm not going to sit and study it. I'll just get in and have a go, and you soon learn, I guess, production process as well, because I like to have every input on every part of it all. And I guess I had to learn, I'm not going to make one board from start to finish. I have to make 10 at one stage, 10 at the next, and do that development along there. And that comes with learning and strategy, I guess, with that.
Yeah.
Another learning, I guess in a wider, more broad scheme, learning about local support and how to help one another out was a huge one as well.
Yeah, so it sounds like collaboration and that networking thing is really important. And also social media, like it looks like you've learned how to leverage your social media. Is that something that you've just learned on the job, or has your mum helped you? Because you said at the start your mum was the one putting all these pictures on Facebook.
That's a funny topic. She's probably listening, but I've probably helped Mum with marketing in her role as well. Yeah. I've always liked photos and graphic designs. I think all things design I've aimed to have a bit of an eye for. Certainly some of my photos could probably do with a bit of a improvement and all that. But no, that would have been, again, maybe a bit of a self-taught thing and based on how I see other businesses market. Certainly not anything I aim to just throw down people's throat, yet just show the process. It's all real. It's me, it's my product. It's, not all tweaked and edited. And often I have photos of my workshop that isn't always spotless, and there's sawdust everywhere, and that just is what it is. So I've certainly aimed to just, I guess, use social media as this is what it is, this is what I do. If you're interested, watch. If you're not, it doesn't matter, So that's how that's run.
And I love how all of your products are using Tasmanian wood. So what drove that? I mean, it's obvious you're from Tasmania, but there's so many different options out there. Was there a reason that you just wanted to focus on that?
Again, I'll look back to it continuously. Tasmanian product, local support, making the most of what Tasmania has to offer is what I live by, not just in woodwork, yet all things, all product and everything like that. Mum's in local business and it's all about, that revolving network. So using Tasmanian timber product, I think, it is a selling point as well, but I'm also proud to deliver it. Going to a market like Tasmanian Craft Fair, where we have people from, we have international tourists going down there at the same time as domestic tourists, people from, anyway, Perth, Queensland. Oh, I haven't seen that before. What's that? Or I've heard of Huon Pine. Tell me about it. Or Huon Pine has this smell. That reminds me of Tasmania. So for me to be able to utilize that and then deliver into, people's homes, I think what's special for a gift, I've loved being able to use a Tasmanian timber that's then going to, whether it be, this big or huge, ends up being someone's dining room table, if that can sit in someone's space and say, oh, I went to Tassie and some young girl sold me that's a Tasmanian timber called myrtle. Or I remember that smell because a Huon Pine has a unique smell to it and it lingers. So if someone could buy a coaster and say, oh, I got that in Tassie, gee, it smells nice, that reminds me of Tasmania, I think that's pretty special. I haven't really got anything to do with it. It's the natural timber itself.
Yeah, I mean, Tasmania is a very special place, and it's very unique in that it is an island that's separate from our country. It's really weird because I know a lot of people who live on the mainland who've never been there, which I find bizarre. But what do you think? Like during COVID, has it been good for you guys being separate from the rest of Australia, or have you felt quite isolated because all the borders have shut? What's the feeling down in
all the way down here?
All the way down there?
Yeah. I guess we do feel isolated, but I took that as a bonus. Obviously, I was living in Canada, so I had to come home, and that was a bit of a flight. And I was like, oh, goodness, like this is a long way away from everything, and I'm now like locked away. But I believe COVID has, obviously it's not a good thing, but it's helped take off in our little community again. So people that had flights to America, even Queensland, over our winter period, say, oh, I need to get out of here, have actually turned around and said, well, we've still got 2 weeks booked off work. Why don't we travel our state? We had little travel vouchers go around. Businesses were on board with, let's support the local community and, gift cards and offering packages and bundles of support when going away. And where I work, sometimes a bit of a thoroughfare for people going from north to south. And they say, oh, I've never been down here. I've never been to Bruny Island, or I've never been anywhere in the state. And I think they're now had a chance, me included, have had a chance to take off and see what more our state has to offer, because it's kind of cool. It's pretty naturally beautiful, and the stores, restaurants, bars have obviously had to adapt, but it still had a good chance for them to be exposed as well.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I love Tasmania. I spent a lot of time down there in my, I think it's my late 20s. It feels like a long time ago. I worked for West Farmers, and I used to have to go down to Tassie once a month. And so I would go to Burnie, Devonport, and I go to Launceston, and then I would go down to Hobart. So I'd go like all the way around, and I reckon that sometimes I'd seen more of Tassie than some of the people who live there. And it's funny because I feel like that's what we do in Victoria. Like there's so many things that I haven't seen in Victoria, living in Victoria, but it's funny, isn't it? We don't often understand or appreciate what's in our own backyard.
Oh, absolutely. And I know when I was away, I was a bit of a ambassador for Tasmania. People hadn't heard of it. I spoke to people from Queensland, and they're like, oh, you're from Tassie, like, oh dear. But I was like, no, hang on, chill out, it's cool. And so, I couldn't be more, I guess, pleased to be a part of it, let alone start a journey and a story utilising what Tassie has to offer as well.
It's amazing. It's a beautiful story. And I mean, Tasmanian wood is stunning, and I can't wait to buy something, because the start of this conversation I shared with Molly that I'm actually moving to Tasmania on the 3rd of January. I'm moving to St. Helens. I'm sure you know where that is. Yep. So I'm pretty excited, but I'll be coming up to Launceston quite a bit, I imagine. So when you went traveling, so you were away for 2 years. What were you doing overseas? Let's hear that story.
Oh, how long you got? I initially took off, and went to America, flew straight into New York City, and that was the biggest culture shock of my life. I couldn't believe what I had done. Standing as a 19-year-old, first time left home alone in the middle of Times Square was a little bit challenging. I thought, oh, well, I'm here now. I've got to face it, make the most of it, and realise if I want to come home tomorrow, next year, next month, the ball's in my court. But that little fear soon went away 2 days later as I went to Pennsylvania and did a summer camp. I was a leader of 700 kids alongside 300 staff in the American summer camps, the most mainstream, outrageous experience ever. And it is summer camps are the known thing in America for those that are aware of how they work. But that was unbelievable. Then I travelled America for a bit, went to Mexico, went on a bit of a Kentucky, travelled California, road trip with friends. Didn't know anyone either, actually. Didn't know a single soul. So that was a pretty cool journey to be able to go meet people, and people didn't know anything about you, didn't know a single thing, yet form friendships like no other. So, yeah, road trip California for a while, and then took off to Canada, did a ski season in Canada, worked in Whistler. I was bartending there and snowball by day, bartend by night, so I liked that lifestyle.
You're talking my language. You're talking my language. I love skiing. So, I was wondering if you're skiing in Canada. So there we go. So, did you go to any other resorts in Canada?
No, I kind of did the same trip round twice, and I was going to, at the end of my last season in Whistler, I was going to do a little road trip from Whistler right through Banff, Jasper, all through across to, end up back in New York City, but COVID came around, so I skipped that part. But no, I love Whistler that much so that I did it the 18-19 season and then 19-20.
Wow.
Work and travel was a large part of it, and bartending is a passion of mine. And I don't know, in years to come, it's always a dream for me to have my own little craft boutique, craft beer, wine bar, cocktail bar or something. So
sounds good. Sign me up. All fitted out by you, of course, I can imagine.
Something like that, and hand in hand with some metalwork, I believe, which I'm highly passionate about now as well.
Awesome. So what was it like being away when the whole pandemic hit? Were your parents worried, ringing you saying, come home? Or did you make that decision? Like, when did you actually come home? At what point? Because my husband was actually in Canada when it all kind of exploded.
When was
that? So he was there in February, I think, or January. It was February. Just before they closed the borders, he got into Australia. He flew into Australia, I think 2 days before they shut it down and said, if you come in now, you have to self-quarantine for 2 weeks.
Ah, right. Yep.
Yeah. So he was at Mustang Powder Cats near Revelstoke.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a really good skier. He loves skiing way better than me. And they do cat skiing. So he did this cat skiing tour for I think 10 days, and you have to helicopter in there. It's like amazing. Like, I would love to go, but I'm not good enough. They don't let.
Yeah, I was going to say he's a good skier.
Yeah, I'm all right, but I have done cat skiing once, but it was like for beginners. But anyway, Anyway, so what was it like? Were you booked to come home, or you just made the decision, I'm just going to come home, or what happened?
No, I was still probably 10 months off being home. I reckon about this date I nearly would have been flying back into Tasmania in a perfect world. So It was a little bit of a shock. I guess, quick story rundown. It was going to be my 21st birthday in April. My parents were set to fly out on, Saturday, say the 28th of March or something, land, and they were going to come and spend my 21st with me in Whistler. They were going to live the life that I'd lived for a couple of seasons, and it would have been everything we ever dreamed of. And I got a call from mum and dad on about the 20th, that could have been a couple of days before, of March, saying, hey, Molly, there's a pandemic going on, and me living my own little life, just not really using social media, just caught up in our own world. Hadn't really realised it was as serious as what it was.
Yeah.
A couple of mates were like, things aren't looking too good for Australia, and I think it's about to happen here. I was like, to be right. Like, it's just something that people are, carrying on about. And then I had a bit of a yak with mum. She's like, it's a bit serious. Like, if we fly out, we may not be able to get in. Like,
yeah.
It's serious.
Yeah.
So then, it was a turnaround within about 3 days of being life's normal, life's fine. I'm traveling the world for another 10 months to, okay, I've got a flight home. So mum and dad said, Molly, we can't come. We can't come to you and then have the possibility of getting stuck in Canada. They've got businesses to run. They're flat out. They're going to miss out on seeing me, but it's up to you, darling, whether you stay or if you come home. And then, okay, cool, that's all right. I understand. It'd be sad, but I get it. And then a day later was, hey, I think you probably should come home. It's up to you again. They've never had a forceful input on me, but they just said, look, if you're going to come home and you want to get back into the state, we don't know what's happening with the world. You may not get back in. So probably look at coming home, I don't know, in a week or so. So I booked a flight there and then, and it killed me. It was for 2 weeks away. I was like, oh my God, this is my life here in Canada, the best of mates, unreal job. And I was like, I'm not ready to give this up yet. This is hard. Within that phone call, I just paid my little flight 2 weeks away for, a couple of $1,000 or whatever it was to come home. And then I had a call from my work saying the mountain's closing, skiing's finished, gondolas are shut, the village is shutting down, work's off. I was like, oh, and I live in staff housing. So I was like, wonder what that means. Things are really serious now.
Yeah.
And again, it was another hour later, and Dad said, here's a flight, Molly. It flies out tomorrow at 12 o'clock. I'll book it for you. I suggest you get on it because we just don't know what's happening.
No,
and that was it. I went and hung out with my friends for the evening, and then me and another one of my good mates took off. So we went down to Vancouver and flew out. So within less than 3 days, so about 50-odd hours, it was a turnaround of no to 2 weeks away to tomorrow. And that was that. I flew out at 11:55, and I had a message, PM, and I had a message from Mum come through saying the final flight out of Canada is at midnight tonight. So if you don't make it, you're locked in. But I later found out that was the word in the street. I was like, don't be delayed. But it was more about you have to have a reason to leave. And I think probably as an Australian resident, it would have been okay. But I still had to come home and isolate in my own home. Yeah. And Mum actually came in with me. So she's like, oh, well, I'm willing to get it. I want to see you and whatever. So I got to the airport, gave her a hug, waved to Dad. Dad was in the distance. So waved to him. He couldn't. He worked with alongside elderly people and just couldn't come near. So gave him a wave. Mum and I jumped in our car and went to my shack up the Highlands. So we were fully isolated in the middle of nowhere. And we were stuck up there for 2 weeks. Dad delivered our little goodies on our front porch and he stayed elsewhere and we had our shack. So, yeah, it was hard. It was hard to accept. I wasn't ready. Didn't want to accept the fact that I guess my travel life was over. But everyone's life's changed, hasn't it? So I had to be a little bit not selfish of that. I didn't know what would happen. So I thought, this will all blow over and I'll take off again. I'll go somewhere or I'll go to Melbourne. Come your way. I want to go into bars and I want to do this and I want to do that. But then started woodworking and I had to get to a couple of bigger orders come in even while I was still in isolation and up at my shack woodworking out the back. And I thought, okay, this is going to keep ticking away and why not? Why not push it as much as I can? And that continued through isolation, through when the state was still in lockdown. And then I needed to get a little metalwork job done and that's when I ventured out to where I currently work now to get one job done. And then conversation led to another with the gentleman that runs this business out there. And he said, do you want a job 1 day a week? Can you design? I said, not really, but I would have a go. And he said, if I was to have a client that needed a gate with a tree on it, could you do it? And I thought, yeah, I'll give it a go. I've done similar projects at school. Why not? What's to lose? May as well. And bars weren't open when I'm normally a bartender. So, let's see how that goes. So I went out there for my 1 day trial and I think he'll agree 1 day later I was full-time, locked in, and I've been there ever since.
Wow.
So who knows where this will lead me for the rest of my life. It could lead me to potentially running this metalwork business. I think if all things go to plan and with the way my boss Ian would like to see things take place, it's a transition that could happen as well. So I guess that's the little story of a turnaround and times of change and that's how COVID's helped benefit me.
I love it. You're a legend. What a story. What a story. You're 21, but you've experienced a lot. So what does the future look like for Molly's Creations? Like in 5 years' time, where do you want it to be? Do you have a business plan, like take over the world, going international? What's it look like?
Oh, I haven't really even thought about that. I kind of take things as they come, and often, think on the spot with different projects. If something comes on, I take it on board and say, "Oh yeah, I'll give it a go." But I guess lately it's been a little bit of consistency with bigger projects. Like it's not just little chopping board anymore. Yet things are challenging me, and I really like it. But it's obviously developing to quite an expansion of scope and what my product can offer. So using that and thinking the way that things are going with this metalwork business and role and facilities. I mean, maybe 5 years could lead me to a metalwork company that I was, say, committed to and invested in, and would work alongside that. They certainly go hand in hand. And if I could have a space that offered unbelievable a range and amount of woodwork with metalwork, I don't know, I could have some big gallery or studio set up of both and be able to offer a lot. I guess it covers quite a large scheme of in that industry what people could look for.
I love it. I love it. So Molly, it's been amazing speaking to you. I've loved hearing your story, and I can't wait to move to Tasmania so I can say I'm a real Taswegian, although I've been told that you have to have been born there to do that. Apparently the locals get a bit funny about us Melbourneians coming over, and I've heard that, I don't know if you've heard this, but is there a lot of people moving to Tasmania? Is that the word on the street?
It is a little bit. I have heard that. Some people it's unsettling for, but I say, oh, come on down, come check it out.
Bring it on.
That if you're not here, so why not? Yeah, I'm excited. And St. Helens, oh, that's beautiful. So we'll have to, nice little coffee shop down there. We might have to have a little St. Helens coffee shop.
Awesome. I would love that. I'd love that. I would love to actually offer you the opportunity to do a coaching session so I could help you with your business. I'll do it for free because I believe in what you're doing and you're amazing. To help you develop a bit of a 5-year plan of what it could look like. That would be really exciting. So
that'd be a delight. I appreciate that and couldn't be more excited. I guess again, why not? That'd be unbelievable. Thank you.
That's all right. Awesome. Well, if you want to check out Molly's work, you can find her on Instagram. What's the handle that people could? What's the best place to find you and find your amazing work?
Well, new little website popped up last week. So mollyscreations.net. .net's key. So yeah, head over there, and that does have my story on it, boards, range, and everything like that, and all pathways to inquiries. Instagram's the way to go. So Molly's Creations _ I think at the end of that. But if you just go Molly's Creations, I think that'll lead you the right way, and same for Facebook as well. So thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time and sharing your story with us. You've done so much, as I said, for someone who's 21, and you hold yourself really well. You've got a lot to be proud of. And I've actually heard a little birdie told me that you've actually been nominated for a Young Tasmanian of the Year award. Is that right?
I believe that is right, which I, again, am humbled about and couldn't believe it when I saw that little email come through. So I actually sent off the application to that last night and filled in the dotted line. So thank you as well.
No problem.
Couldn't be more delighted, I guess, to see that. So that's muchly appreciated.
No problem.
I'm sure there's many exceptional candidates that are high up there as well. So thank you.
Oh, well, you never know. I think that you've done an amazing job for someone who's 21. When I was 21, I was pretty much, what was I doing? I moved to London when I was 21. I was drinking a lot and partying a lot, and I wasn't thinking about starting a business back then. But anyway, I've made up for it now.
There's a balance.
I've got one more question for you. Do you like mountain biking?
Yes. I've just kind of started to take it up and get involved.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm really old, but I think that we're going to be friends because I love mountain biking. So we'll have to go for a ride together down in St. Helens. Can't wait to hit the tracks. I'm getting a new bike, so I'm pretty excited.
Absolutely. I'll see you there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Molly, and we'll share all of Molly's handles when we publish the episode. But thanks for listening and have a great weekend.
Thanks, Emily. Thanks, guys.